It's a Friday. We've got a lot to get to. And one of us may still be hungover. It's Fridays Anytime with Ken and Alden. I'm the hungover one. And that's Alden.
Yeah, that's you. Although, I mean, based on our text messages, we were both indulging last night in some chillaxing. I was ranting to Ken. I mean, I text a lot anyway.
Sure.
But there comes a point where I was like, damn, I'm blowing this man's phone up. But you were partying. You were out having a good old time.
I was partying. My pal Jen Muro had her Halloween/birthday party last night. A lot of fun.
Nice.
A lot of fun. A lot of great snacks, Alden. And unlimited rum for me.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Is rum your preferred beverage?
Nowadays, Irish whiskey used to be it, but when you age, you sometimes age out of specific alcohols. So I had to downgrade, downshift, take the big rig freeway shit lane crash pile, and go just to rum. That's what I do now.
No, I feel that. When I started drinking in high school, we always used to mix whiskey and Sprite, and now I'm very firmly a gin guy. I'm always drinking gin.
It is.
Yeah.
Molly Damon's here asking costumes. I didn't do costumes, but I do have this.
You're so cool. Molly, I loved your group costume. Molly and Alex, they were dressed up in a Scream look, which was great.
Really I saw that. Yeah. Alden, what did you do?
What did I do for Halloween? I finished Agatha All Along. Starring spooky. Catherine Hahn. Watched that, spooky watch. And then I threw on one of my favorite spooky films, 2004's Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale. Yes. And my favorite Dracula, Richard Roxburgh, who deserves so much credit for being in that movie. God, it's 2000s as hell. And then I indulged in the Devil's Lettuce and sat around, listened to some good music. Listen to some spooky scores. Yeah, chilling.
That's good, man. That's good. Sounds like
I don't have kids. I don't have kids, and I don't have friends in this town. Right. So it's just. And my nephews had fun though. They were out with my sister, and they were having fun.
We gotta get you some friends in that town, or get you out of that town.
All my friends are 4 hours south of me, or in entirely different states. Such as you.
That's fine. That's fair. It was I had a fun party, snacks. The body. It's like that wedding I was at 2 weeks ago. The Sean and Jill Sullivan, trying to say Sully and Sean at the same time. You turn up with John. The Sully wedding, and man, just the act of standing for hours kills you. And that's why it's bad. Yeah.
It's bad. It's like when the music's right and the dancing feels good. It's like you lock into a different mode that you're not registering that pain.
Yeah.
But if it is mostly like a standing, like a Hollywood party, I would imagine, not to say that Jen Muro doesn't play like great hits. I'm sure she does. But I'm sure it was probably more of a, small talky party than a wedding.
It was big. She has a house where a great backyard, a great situation. She was playing some great music. I got to ask her. There was I can only describe this as a gothic ragtime cover of Bad Romance. And I heard it. She comes because did you hear that Bad Romance song? And I was yeah. But I got a text her today, but who was that? I don't know what that was. It's great.
I love a good cover. I mean, covers are sort of on the mind right now because as Star Wars guys, we had the Skeleton Crew trailer before we came on today a few hours ago, and that has a Major Tom cover in Huttese, which is hilarious. Which I love.
I'm not gonna name drop, but I was hanging out with the composer of that show last night. And I was chatting with him. If I'd known I would have asked him about this.
Which they still have not announced, by the way. So we're still going to play that coy, which is weird. Like, just announce it. Who cares? It's a month away. But so that's on the mind. Covers are great. I was thinking about covers earlier this week too. And by the way, we're both very pro Skeleton Crew. This just isn't a Star Wars show. There's enough Star Wars with Ken. Yeah.
Force Center, we're going to do news on Monday. Me and Jennifer got it. Joseph's starting to go make his movie, so just be Jen and I. I'll just say this. Lauren Romo, our buddy Lauren Romo, actually texted me this morning, and I was texting her about it. I was like, it's just so goddamn fun. That Neil joke, that Neil was perfect. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait to see what the grifters try to pull out. Like, I'm almost excited. What are you gonna do now, grifters? What are you gonna find to hate in this?
It's gonna be based on ortolan subspecies. That's what it's gonna be. Because I'm an ortolan subspecies truther. I think that there are different species of ortolan, and it's not either or. But it's covers. You listen to Postmodern Jukebox ever? They've been around obviously for years.
Maybe by accident. Okay.
So they do like old timey genres, old jazzy covers of different things.
Okay. Yeah.
And I realized something, and I'm gonna tap lightly the hornet's nest here of ever so slightly bringing Taylor Swift into the conversation. I realized I'm not really a Taylor Swift guy. There's some that I like of her tracks.
Sure.
But what I realized is that I might like her more as a songwriter than I do as a singer, and like in terms of her arrangements, because there's a cover of not Bad Blood. What's the other one? Blank Space that Postmodern Jukebox does. That is one of the best things that has ever graced my eardrums. It's so good. But then I listen to the actual Taylor Swift Blank Space, and I'm like, not for me. So it's weird. The arrangements are weird.
Yeah, no, I feel I'm a supporter of Taylor in the overall sense of how what she has done in terms of changing and being a little more open politically and everything. But I don't live in a world where even if she starts to annoy me or I don't love other music, it doesn't bother me. But I'm with you on that. Like I hate to say, like there's a artist who did a full cover of her 1989 album, did the entire album, released it as a cover, and he's problematic. We don't celebrate him much anymore. But it's great, and it's just one of those things. And I hate that I have to be the dude that hears the dude do the girl song to like it. You know what I mean? That stupid thing. And so it's not obviously that's not how I approach life or how I approach it. But it was just one of those things like, oh, I'm hearing it differently now. So I get you.
Totally. Yeah, it's hard to sort of even reverse engineer them sometimes. Like when I was growing up, we had no idea that like I Will Always Love You was a cover. And then you go back and you listen to the Dolly one, and I'm like, oh, this is it's certainly not bad, certainly not, but very, very different. Or Hurt. I grew up not knowing Hurt was a cover. And
the Cash. So you thought you grew up with the Cash version?
Always thought that was a Cash song.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah, okay.
For years, I thought it was until maybe like 2017 when they put it in the Logan trailers.
Yeah. It's great. It's great in that. No, look, even me, a rock and roll DJ, man. Sometimes you're shocked when you're like, I didn't know. Sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes it's an obscure cover. Sometimes, it's like George Harrison's Got My Mind Set on You is actually a cover of like a blues song from the 50s. Like, you wouldn't know that. But like sometimes, yeah. And then there's moments I got in an argument with someone sometime where they were talking about Because the Night and 10,000 Maniacs version, which they made famous in their unplugged version. And someone came up about, they were kind of attacking, they're like, I like songs like this and not like Bruce Springsteen stuff. And I was like, it's his song. He wrote the song.
Right.
Patti Smith did a version, but he wrote the song. He wrote that song.
Now look, Jared here in the comments brings something up, and we've never discussed this as a show. Is it too early to get into any Christmas topics since it's November 1st? Where does the knapsack Hancock household fall on like we move from one holiday to the next?
Look, spooky season. It's so funny you and I are bantering this long when we have an episode full of topics. We're going to get
so many topics.
So many topics. This is a spooky season house. We don't go heavy on decorations, just on what's in our hearts. It's a spooky season house. It's definitely not a Thanksgiving house. And we're not anti-Christmas or Thanksgiving. It's just like it's you know what it is? It's cold season, and we celebrate colder weather here for months. So no direct decorate, but that's been my whole life. I thought like my mom, we did do the decorations inside the house on Christmas Day. I'd unwrap my gifts. My sister would unwrap her gifts, and by 1:00, my mom took down all the decorations. Christmas Day, we're out.
Nice, efficient.
Yeah,
efficient. But to answer that, by the way, Jared, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Yeah, I also agree that most of them are better than the original. The My Chemical Romance, emo punk one is the best.
For Christmas is you.
Okay. Mariah Carey. Yeah. So look, as Ken alluded to, there's a lot. There's a lot on the docket.
What's
we bantered. We bantered despite industry standard telling us we shouldn't. Maybe if we had an AI do the bantering for us, that would be more in line with what people want.
I'll do that. Let's do that.
So we got, this is just in my notes app that I've just been filling up throughout the week of things to remind myself. We will not hit everything today, people. We just can't, unless we stayed here all day. But Ken's got to go make money. He's got to go live his life. I got to go, I don't know.
I gotta PlayStation. Who knows? I gotta go fight comments on my Instagram reel.
That's right. Yeah. And then speaking of Tony Hinchcliffe, we'll talk about him. I definitely echo Aubrey Plaza's statements, which we'll get to as well. Tony Hinchcliffe, and then the immediate fallout. We got Mr. Beast from our thumbnail. This note just says Mr. Beast fucking sucks. We got Buzz Aldrin heel turn this late in the game. What is going on?
Late turn.
Bezos continuing to suck, and Bezos, come on, man,
Bezos,
give me Lord of the Rings and shut up. Alan Moore once again returning from atop his wizard mountain to come down and speak truths about fandom. We have speaking of the word fandom, friends and comrades at Fandom and GameSpot experience layoffs as the industry continues to collapse. Alden hates applications and assessments, tying in with that, and more. This is, again, not exhaustive. It's a lot. It's a lot right now. And Beast sort of took the headline because we both realized at the same time that we were watching this villain origin story that someone his vibe was just at first I don't know about this guy, but I'll ignore him. And then he just floored it all the way to I hate this guy. And it was an impressive run. So yeah, that's why he was the second one on the moon. Yeah, lots of great second place jokes have been made over the course of this week. I used to be like, Buzz, punch every moon denier. Now I'm haunted by moon deniers in the MAGA camp until for the rest of his days.
It's quite a turn. It's quite that's a lot.
That's a light look at this week, and that's of course outside of the fact that, in case you all in the comments forgot, we're days away from an election.
Yeah, that hangs over everything, right? That's kind of been
this is the final time you'll see us in the Biden administration. Well, I mean, yes, it continues on until inauguration, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah.
It's this era.
I was as a youngster, as a kid, I was always slightly disappointed to learn that when the election happens, that the next day we don't have a new president. I didn't I was I thought Mondale was going to be Reagan, and it's the largest, I think, one of the largest trouncings in presidential election history. I was 8 or whatever, but I was Reagan was already the president. But you know what I mean? I was like, you have to wait till January? You have to wait till January? What are you talking about?
It's weird. Yeah, other things like sports championships and everything, and you obviously being a big sports guy, which there's that too. There was also the lone holdout in the Burbank area is you, basically. But you handled what happened with the World Series with a lot of class, I thought.
I didn't watch the last. I watched the last inning on my phone at a donut shop. I met my friend Owen, years ago. It'd have been no, I have to watch every pitch at home with the intensity of 1,000 suns. I was like, yeah, let's go meet up for a donut. And then I walk up and I see that Dodger donut, and I was like, I gotta get that.
Yeah. So anyways, shout out Dodgers, I guess.
I love typos. Michael McCarcel. Remember, folks, go vote. At least he corrected it. Go vote.
Yeah. Oh, in the UK, the prime minister gets booted out the next day. See, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of like that. I
like that.
You're out at 10 Downing Street, pal. Pack your bags.
Because then it's you could gauge how confident a campaign is by whether or not any U-Hauls have shown up. If you he hasn't flinched at all, he's not moving.
If you move into 10 Downing Street, pack lightly. That's what I say. Pack lightly. Even I was watching some stuff on this guy. I starting to watch now, Jimmy the Giant, who's, I think I mentioned before. He's fascinating because he's done a big switch in political philosophy, and he did a whole video. I watched 30 minutes on why people hate Thatcher, and in a general sense, I got it. And so, but it was from a kid growing up in the UK, and it was a great piece. She was in there for 11 years or so, and even her, they were like, "It's done. I'm out. We're leaving it for 10 Downing Streets. I'm packing up." I like that.
Yeah. I remember when Thatcher died. I can't remember how old I was when she died, but Ding
Mm-hmm.
Dong, the Witch is Dead shot to the top of the iTunes charts when she was gone.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 2013.
Incredible.
Dan at the Food of My Beard asks, we got to ask this. What's Ken's take on the guy who ripped the ball out of Mookie Betts' glove? Are you familiar with the situation?
I am indeed. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't want to say him. I know you don't watch sports. I despise him. And look, I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a California Yankee fan. Yankee fans have a interesting reputation, but that's just tribal in sports. You know, people in Philly. I know a lot of Philadelphia Phillies fans. They're not bad people, but this city has long been considered one of the most racist cities for baseball players. That was a problem, and that's what Curt Flood, when he was traded from the Cardinals to the Phillies, he's like, I don't want to bring my family to that city. I want to be a free agent and that whole thing. There's a lot of history there, but that doesn't mean every Philly fan's that. Not every Yankee fan's bad. I want to clarify that. But horrible, but also it speaks to where we are. And I hate to be the old man grumbling to the crowds, but 20 years ago, a guy named Steve Bartman accidentally, unintentionally affects the fate of the Chicago Cubs Florida Marlins series. But there's a doc on it. Steve Bartman hasn't been said to this day. He was almost murdered in the park by the Cubs fans. And it was unfortunate. It messed up and it was bad. But no one's heard from the dude. The dude said he had to move. He's a lifelong Chicago Cub fan, a lifelong Chicago. When he's gone, he's done. He's buried. He's witness relocation program. This clown who didn't just actually try to pull a ball out of a glove. He was punching Mookie Betts.
He grabbed those wrists and stuff.
Grabbing the wrist.
Yeah.
Luckily that the Yankees decided to take his tickets away the next day, but ESPN does an article like, we went to this guy was a hero, and I think that's a morality slide where I'm not saying the Bartman thing is the right way.
Sure.
That had a problem to it as well. But this guy's going to have a podcast within 2 months. He's going to be a millionaire on YouTube within 2 months. He's Hawk-Tua girl. And I have said, I don't have a problem with Haley Welch, the Hawk-Tua girl. This opportunity falls into your lap, take it. But this is where we're at. This is the Bart Simpson I didn't do it guy episode, and it's trouble.
Also, just psychologically, from the non-sports fan perspective, just seeing it as a news piece, I was this I feel like is the natural end conclusion of the intertwining of entitlement and involvement, where it's kind of it's very natural for sports fans to say we. Right.
Yeah.
Isn't there even a term for that? In football, is it the 12th man or
12th man?
Something?
Yeah.
12th man
or 13th man.
13th man, whatever the fans.
12th man. Yeah. 12th man.
You always say we, you're a part of the organization, you're a part of the driving force, and that's natural. But it's if you can't compartmentalize that as being about love, if you actually think that you have a place beyond your seat. Yeah. He's lucky that this man didn't climb up there and beat the shit out of him, which would have been within his rights.
Yeah.
It's just I cannot imagine that. And in other contexts, it would seem ridiculous. It's I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And again, we go to our not real but also most real world of wrestling, where we've all seen the classic clips of people rushing the ring. Oh, everyone jumps them. Everyone, including refs.
It's the rule. I mean, I want to be clear about that. It's the rule. The rule is if someone comes in the crowd, the locker room needs to empty. If you're not and you don't come out of the locker room, that's not good. That's not gonna be good for you.
And you didn't help. You didn't care. Yeah,
you didn't help. Yeah, it doesn't mean everyone's gonna get there or need to get there, but that's the thought. Yeah.
And this guy, it's he's gonna go down already as folklore and some people have, he caused the curse that caused the loss or whatever. But it's the entitlement and then him acting surprised, in an interview after, I didn't expect them to also come down on my brother or whatever. It's that's because you could only think about you. That's why you didn't expect that.
Yeah, man. And in 1996, there was a very famous play that helped the Yankees. This was before replay, the Jeffrey Mayer situation where the 13-year kid reached over the fence, which would have been an out. The Orioles would have caught a fly ball from Derek Jeter. It was ruled a home run. It was this whole thing. Even that's not super intentional. It was a 12-year-old kid who just was reaching for a ball, and he got turned into a hero as well. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying the Bartman thing's right. I'm saying that's right. It is what it is. But I just think where we are now, this guy's going to be able to monetize it. That's the thing.
For sure. And then he'll end up doing like Mr. Beast's baseball challenge. Segue. So this guy, Mr. Beast, I was loosely familiar with him throughout his rise just by name. It was really over the past like year or so that I started to hear the name more. Maybe 2022 as well. And it was like this performative nature of it always rubbed me the wrong way. And that's in general. As Jared calls it here in this comment, I refuse to accept poverty porn as actual philanthropy, which I think is a great way to phrase that.
Yeah.
Because it's been a thing, right? This has happened throughout the arc of the internet of like, hey, we've got a stack of $100 bills. Let's go make people's day. And we got to record this. And I've always really been annoyed, and it ranges from annoyed to disturbed based on that behavior. And I've even outside, like, I think it's sort of like, like when people go to like feed impoverished kids and then they have to take a selfie with the kids like while they're there. It's like, okay, happy days, but like there's something weird about I can't do something good without recording it that just fires off all of my like suspicious alarms that like I'm not saying I'm like an amazing person, but it's like there are charities I donate to like every year and everything, and it's like I don't screenshot them, I don't post them, I'm not like, welcome to the Anytime charitable report for this month. Like, look at how many smiles we generated. It's like so fucking weird. So that's my baseline. Is like this behavior is always weird, even if it's the best person.
Yeah, and it's complicated. Like when we did GPA for the year, the goal when we started it was also to include charity in it. That was actually a mandate from Eric Bass of Shinedown, because Shinedown does that a lot themselves. It's part of their budget. It's part of their tour budget. So Eric was like, we will be helping charities, and it was good. But even then, you're on screen having to say a portion of the proceeds, because it's like we also need to pay for the internet. Like it's a weird world. It could be thinking, but I'm with you too. Like I'm not going to hold anyone to the fire if they like announce they've done something nice.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna, it's okay. I think so. At some point, it doesn't. At some point, like if you did this today, if you a screenshot with you and your charity of choice, I wouldn't be like, Alden's up to something. But if you made that the Alden Donate Hour show, okay.
It was a pattern. Like, because if you do something cool, like, we've both been a part of like charity streams before. We've raised money for Make-A-Wish and other foundations, and like I've been around the block, and this happens, and every sports organization does this, like whatever. Isolated incidents, but there's something to be said. Like I knew somebody that shall remain nameless for family reasons that used to like do this thing where they would bring like donuts. They would surprise people with donuts, like their friends or their coworkers or whatever. But they would always like post about it on Facebook, and they tried to like make it like their little thing, and it just like drove me crazy. It's like, if you want to feed people and like be cool, just be cool, man. Like stop trying to make this like a little thing. Like you are now trying to gimmick this in an annoying way, and you're not Fred Rogers. You're not. You don't have the right to like try to commodify this or turn it into a brand. So then you look at Mr. Beast, and I've never subscribed. I've never watched a video in full. It's usually like, look at this ridiculous clip that comes out.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I meant to favor this. Yeah. Steve says, I agree for the most part. There's a place for sharing good deeds to spread awareness and get more people involved. I think you and I are kind of addressing that too when you're doing a stream. But if that ask or info isn't there, it looks like promotion too. Yeah, that's I agree with that too.
And there came a point where it's like Mr. Beast crossed into, I know more about like his brand and his like ridiculous challenges than I do about anything that he stands for morally. Like you would see like, he just built a bunch of housing, and it's like, how did he do that? Who did he work with? What's going on? All I ever see is like the end result. But then at the same time as those things, it would be like, Mr. Beast has like a win X amount of money if you could stay buried alive for this amount of time. And it's like,
right.
Once you've bled those together, you're just a weirdo game show host who also maybe might be doing good, but they're intertwined, man. Like I need to see behind the curtain here.
Here's where I'm at now. What'd you call him online? A G-rated jigsaw?
He is G-rated jigsaw. Yes.
I was aware of him in that, tertiary kind of way. May at one point bought one of his pieces of candy or something at a 7-Eleven. Like, what is this type of thing? And then, it sounds like the old guy. What is this, Mr. Beast? But I definitely was aware of him. And then earlier, I think it's even earlier this year, you could go find an episode of my show, 20 Minutes of Coffee, where I went into it a little bit. No, in the sense of, I don't know who he is. I know he just built 30 wells in Africa or something like that. I don't want to see it. People are upset at him. And I had a kind of, my take was, hey, if he's helping, it's good. It looks like he is. I don't know much about him. And end of story for me. And from that point to, I texted you this week. From that point, hey, let the guy eat. To something's going on. Like we need. Right. I've done that shift because of we're gonna get not get into it, but like he has the crypto thing going on right now. Yeah. By the way, this is I did a I typed on Google Mr. Beast, go to the news thing or no, just the front article on crypto. Mr. Beast being investigated over crypto scams. Mr. Beast wallet tied to 13 million suspected crypto pump and dumps. Mr. Beast under fresh scrutiny. Blah blah blah. The final article says this: Mr. Beast investigated for cannibalism. I don't trust that one.
Look, yeah. So it's you get that. And then like these the Amazon stuff with like the production crew members that have talked about like the shitty conditions, and then partnering with known moronic bigot Logan Paul, who's already he's being sued for everything that he did during the Olympics.
And then selling moldy cheese to kids,
selling moldy shit to kids. It's the two of them and some other dipshit that got together. Yeah, it's Lunchleys. Thank you, Ken Blue. I couldn't remember the name. Lunchleys, not to be confused with Lunch Wolves. Lunchleys that they're making promo videos that was confirmation. That was proof positive that this is about you getting your money. That's what this is. And you're now trying to involving kids in it and being we want to give a better option to kids. Whenever you say something like that, immediately I think the scrutiny rises, as it should, because now try to market beyond your internet broy audience or your adults that want to see this charity, and now you're trying to be this guy, and it's unsettling and it's weird. And as I said on our Threads account, that Anytime on Air on Threads,
that's right.
Why do we keep platforming these people? Can we ever stop? And if we can, how? And these are huge questions. It's always a weirdo. We have a lot of off-air conversations just about the digital space and everything. And we're not going to divulge a lot of it, but it's I would say ballpark 90% of the personalities encountered by the two of us, some fuckery has happened. It seems like the normal contingent of internet fame is so tiny. Is it because people just aren't built fundamentally for what happens when you amass these brands?
What meaning?
Are we doomed for corruption because of being told we're great?
Yeah, I mean that could. I mean, you never want to believe your own hype, right? Yeah. Yeah. I don't look. There's some personality traits, and I'm saying this carefully. But this is beyond Jimmy Donaldson, Mr. Beast. I don't know, but I do know people that do know him. I actually know someone who was one of his cameramen. He's there's some stuff going on. It's not his it's who he is. I'll say that carefully. But it's kind of a personality trait that is in a lot of these hyper successful digital media, YouTube, TikToker types and Vine types and everything. They're very obsessive about the things that they're doing it beyond just the grind. It is all they do. That's part of the right reason they solve the math problem of YouTube. YouTube is a math problem you have to solve to break through all the algorithms. It's not really creative. And I don't know. And it just, it is, I think it could lead, because a lot of them are unchecked. If you do this on your own, he started this in his room, right? 40 subscribers, whatever, you go unchecked for a long time. And trust me, a lot of people in traditional media, as we have learned, have gone unchecked for a lot of time. I guess it's more of a comment on power and your power being secured by your financial situation. So it's not new, but it's just, there's a different take to it where it's the curtains are pulled back and it's wow, that was always there, or this was always what it was going to go to. And that's off-putting to me. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah. And then it's disheartening too, because it's with that power and the amassed power and the subscribers and all that stuff, the higher heights means less accountability, as we've seen pretty consistently. people just pivot like, oh, I'm getting rightfully canceled over here, not the fake canceled that people freak out about with like Johnny Depp, who just got a new movie deal, and these other like the real like, oh, we need to, which like, you know, not to get too into the weeds, but like, you've been at a company when shit hit the fan and a figure needed to be axed, you know, and it's like, but what happened to that figure? Just took his audience, moved over, continued. Like people are able to like do this whack-a-mole shit and on a moral level where it's like, oh, I thought we got him. Oh no, he popped up over here, and that will just continue until, like, I don't know, like, what does it take? Like Weinstein level crime? Like, what does it actually take? Because we've seen, like with his partners, like Logan Paul, you could say whatever, you could spread whatever conspiracy theory, you can cheat whoever, you can con whoever, and it's just gonna. It's like when you've given people total impunity, it's like, you know, maybe they're doomed to become these like super villains. And it also, his name is Mr. Beast. Why? Like, if my child, if I had a child and he was like, Dad, I subscribe to Mr. Beast, I'd be like, what the fuck are you watching?
Yeah, look, a stage, you know, come on, you and I watch pro wrestling. There's people who still like, you know, hey Punk, hey CM Punk, like, you know, no one's gonna be like, hello, Mr. Phil Brooks, but like, but yeah, it is a weird time. It is a weird world where, that's just normal. That's just normal. Just normal.
I will say this. One of my favorite, before I even knew you, I admired that you just went by your fucking name. I think that is just
I'm yawning because I'm hungover. But we had in radio, but again, on radio, they tried to put a radio name on me, and I was so dumb and naive at 18 years old. I was like, my name is Ken Alden, and it shall stand through the test of time. The annals will record my name.
You were right.
Young ego, but yeah.
You were right. Ken Alden stuck. Here you are today.
Yeah.
Still Ken.
Here I am. Here I am again on my own. Yeah, anyways, I don't have any, what's going on with the crypto thing and with Mr. Beast, I don't know. I think this is only going to go deeper into your question of like to what level. The Amazon lawsuit with the mistreatment of the participants in his game show that I think is still coming out, or I don't know what they're going to do with that. Beast Games, as the show is called, a riff on Squid Games, puts contestants through a variety of grueling challenges with the promises winning $5 million. The lawsuit alleged that Donald's team subjected the contestants to chronic mistreatment and sexual harassment. This is what happens, I think, when you again, traditional media has their monsters. We know this. You don't need to point that out. But when you put someone who's just had they've been themselves, no one's checking them, no HR department, no legal department, no nothing. They've just been doing their thing, working hard to a sociopathic level to get it to this level of success. And then you put them in, and then you actually have to follow rules, and suddenly people are like, yeah, this isn't right. And then now this company, Amazon, is got to deal with this. Good for them. I'm not crying for Amazon, but you know what I mean? Like, I think it's gonna more is gonna be found.
Just like on a premise level too, you could tell that this was going to be questionable just by the idea of like YouTuber wants to do a real life thing inspired by Squid Game. It's like, what? That's not an aspirational story. It's like if somebody pitched like, oh, we're gonna do we're gonna do Hawk Tua's Hunger Games, the Hawk Games. It's like, yeah, games. That's not good. That was actually horrible and fascist.
I'm gonna compete in that. I want to be in. What's the prize tag?
And representing California in the Hawk Games.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Look, it's gonna be. This is what it's gonna be. It's gonna be. You're gonna flip the channels. It's gonna be Mr. Beast Games. It's gonna be the What'd you call it? Hawk Tua Hunger Games. It's gonna be the Boom Review Family Food Hour. It's gonna be can you pull this ball from a Major League Baseball glove hour? If you do, you get $1 million. That's what it's gonna be.
Do you think Johnny Carson rolled over in his grave this week? Like even Fallon, I loved the observation of like Fallon's, as people say, like the Fallon mask dropped. Like you could tell that like character broke for a second, and he was like, all right.
I think, I almost think he was playing it up, but I watched the clip like 15 times. And again, I want to be clear. This family, I think it'd be easy to make fun of this family. They found something that clicked and worked, and this is like hate the game, not the player situation. Maybe they drive me absolutely insane, and they definitely feel like people who would pull a ball out of a Dodger player glove. Like
can't stand it.
They're all connected.
I'm gonna go on the record here. I've said this to friends, but I want to be on air and say it. The dad gives me suspicious vibes. This is not an accusation, and certainly I don't mean anything creepy. I mean like Carney vibes. You know what I mean? Like he was an indie wrestler. Now here he is. Now he's gonna get his pre-show match in Jersey, whatever. But like, I don't mean anything inappropriate by that.
I don't. I want to be.
But there's something about like, hey, my kids are kind of funny. Maybe I can make a buck, and I'm gonna like. He comes off to me like a huckster and a cheat, and it would not surprise me if Boom Dad ends up in cuffs for like tax evasion or something. Like the dude he gives me the fucking vibe. Absolutely untrustworthy.
Yeah. And like even those kids, like I'm not gonna make fun of the kids, you know,
not
like,
at all.
Not at all. The daughter's a little older, I think, right? So maybe they have more choice in the matter. But the youngest of the youngs is just like
directed.
This is great.
We've seen the behind the scenes. He is directing these.
Directed it. It's just we've seen it before, and we'll see it again. That's all I'll say. But anyways, that's all the program we're gonna have. Is Carson rolling over his grave? I don't know. You know, he's more rolling over his grave because someone this week said Conan followed by Colbert are the best late night hosts of all time, and someone correctly was like, "Yeah, great, yeah, cool. Conan's on the list, but have you heard of Letterman, Carson, Steve Allen? Have you heard of the history of late night? Yeah, that he's more rolling over that because Johnny also had
you could make the argument for like Conan, but like
Conan and even the person was like the person responding was like, yeah, put Conan on the list. Yeah,
Conan on the list. I think that like Colbert is my favorite currently on air.
Yeah, he's doing great stuff. It's also the measuring stick is far different. The entire country went to bed with Johnny Carson. Giggity. I can't find one person outside of you who watches Colbert regularly.
No,
and I like I like Colbert. Yeah,
it's dying out for sure. And then everyone outside of those two, because Conan's gone. There's only Myers, Seth. Yeah, Seth would be the other one. And
I like Seth Myers too.
Yeah. I like Seth too. I think he's doing a good job. I'm ready for the Fallon gives the keys to Seth, and then they figure out what to do with Seth's. I think there's something there.
The show. Anyways, I don't to round it out on the beast part of it, so we can move down your list. I just think there's going to be more, and there's going to be more people like him who rise to power, who we discover things about that aren't all like malicious, but just like, oh yeah, that's not what you do. Oh, you're in a pump and dump crypto scheme. Like, you're shady, and this would have been sussed out maybe earlier. Again, I keep doing this caveat because I don't want anyone to what about in comments. I've been dealing with what about comments all week about the Hinchcliffe stuff. It's the traditional media is just as dirty. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. But
for sure,
as far as individuals with this unfettered power, this will keep happening.
And look, we all have biases. Like this crypto story came out, and we decided to talk about him this week and I think it's because the crypto industry carries an air of shadiness to it. Yeah. But at the same time, and is that fair? Maybe not. But at the same time, I've never met a crypto person who was on the up and up. So it's like it seems like it's a scummy thing in general.
Can I be honest with you? I in 2021 got into it because I did not want to be on the up and up.
I was trying to break bad. You see?
No. What I had it. I cashed out a little bit, but like I had a friend who made $4,000 in one day, and I was like, that sounds good. And so when Doge, I can't even say it, Dogecoin broke, I got a lot, and I wish I cashed out. Well, I would have made like 1,000 in one day. I'm not saying that's what Beast was doing, or I'm just in a general sense, but I'm like, I agree with you. I didn't get in it. I got in it to get rich fast, to pump and dump, son. So yeah, the whole thing is weird.
We got Matty Gunners here. He who makes a beast out of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. That's Avenged Sevenfold. Ken, it's one of my favorite bands. That's a
do they
band
have their fingernails like this? Do they have their fingernails like this? Okay,
they absolutely do. Yeah, okay. At least a few of them do. The Avenged Sevenfold is a band that I love. That I've seen live a couple times. They are so dramatic. I mean, they're older guys now. They're dads, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like when they formed, they were so dramatic. They all have stage names. Like every
Nice.
single member has a stage name. Because
Okay,
sometimes you get a
that's good.
band where it's like one of the guys does, one or two,
Yeah.
but they all do, and they're all super edgy, like F Shadows,
like Ringo Starr, right? Okay,
yeah, like that, exactly. Super edgy, like Ringo Starr.
Yeah,
they are also in the crypto space. Oh, that sucks.
There you go.
Yeah,
there.
Ken knows what it's like to work for a crypto guy.
I do. I did. Laserball says only the people who work for Mr. Beast have rules to follow. Yeah, that's probably true. But Beast does not follow.
Before we get off of it, you started this comment from Dan.
I did. Yeah. Dan, Food in My Beard. Check out Dan's stuff. Check out the Food in My Beard. Good food blog. I've been doing this for almost 17 years and have met a ton of, quote, influencers. I would say that 90% of the people I've met are nice and genuine, cool people. The food space might be an anomaly. But also, that's kind of it, too, right? Like, the pro wrestling world is full of absolute carnies and carny shit and shady people. But a lot of nice people do. Like, it's just kind of life, you know? It's kind of life. But I agree with Dan. And check out Dan's blog, The Food in My Beard.
So like we didn't, we don't have any like ultimate conclusions on Beast except be wary of these people. And if you have kids, like, we got people talking about their, like, extra cheddar here. My 11-year-old nephew loves Mr. Beast. I have no idea how to talk to him about him. And then there was a comment up here from
Svetnik was like his 8 and 6-year-old.
8-6, yeah.
Band Beast in the house.
Yeah, it's hard. Like sometimes it because there's so much world context that you have to give the kids to explain to them why you're having that reaction. Like I had to have a whole talk with my nephew when he was 13 about like Elon Musk and like from his point of view, it was very much like, well, he's super rich and he like invents things, like the very simple, like what he sells,
the man who built America. Yeah.
And I had to be like, well, you know anything about what he thinks? And my nephew was like, and so we had to. That
was with your 13-year-old nephew. I've had that conversation with like 70-year-old relatives.
With like grown ass adults
about Elon Musk. But he's a titan of industry. Okay. Let's sit down. We got to have a talk about this.
Yeah. Iron Man 2 character Elon Musk, says Charlie. Correct.
Oh, Ashby, get back to your country.
He is in his country again. He left. He was here for a hot minute.
Does Charles when prime ministers vacate, do you all run down to 10 Downing Street and cheer them on or boo them or heckle them as they move out with their boxes? I would love that. That'd be very British to me.
I think that would be very us. Could you imagine if the president left on Wednesday? Like it's like who like election Tuesday, Wednesday, the U-Haul caravan.
Steve says, what a sad one I have to have the same conversation about most of my 60-year-old father. Yeah, that's it. Anyways, I tease right, Charles Worthington Meyerson Ashby the first.
He does have a lot of names. Charlie does have 4 names, so you were in the ballpark.
Eli, Mattias Worthington Gunner the 9th.
The best Iron Man film is Iron Man 3, Eli, but good try.
Okay, next.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Ding.
Tony Hinchcliffe, as Aubrey Plaza said, her abuelita would have said, "Go fuck yourself." And that was basically the reaction of everyone I know as a Puerto Rican person, all my relatives, everybody immediately, and all the married-in non-Puerto Ricans that are added to the family. Also, we're like, hey, that's my wife. There was a lot of like,
hold me back. Now you're talking about family.
This guy, it's like we're here a week out, and everybody's suddenly like. So I want to acknowledge that level first.
Yeah.
The meat of it we'll talk about, but like it frustrates me when anyone at this point, 8 years into this nonsense, or more than 8 years into this nonsense, is like suddenly offended, or suddenly is like, I was on the fence before, but now we're rolling up. It's like now, not the admissions of sexual assault and the conning and the racism and the mocking the disabled report. Like, okay, we could do a million of why wasn't it this thing? So I just want to get that out of the way first. Of like,
sure.
I mean, happy to have your vote. It's kind of like the endorsements of the last couple of days. It's like great, whatever. Like.
Yeah.
Okay. We've already have like a third of 2020's total vote, and you're endorsing. but
Yeah,
okay.
no, I hope there's someone that gets in their car on Tuesday at 8 a.m. to head over to the election polling place of their neighborhood, and on the way there, Trump does something that they were like, "I'm switching now. I'm going
Right.
Harris." Like I'll take it, but yes,
Yeah.
yeah, the caveat stands.
It's nonsense. Yeah. And I do want to get into the Biden thing.
Yeah.
Just
Oh yeah.
and have
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
rant about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look, if you want some fun out there, go to my Instagram page. Give me a follow
Yeah.
because I lost 200 yesterday. And go look at my video that I clipped out of a larger 15-minute piece of the Hinchcliffe stuff, and go have some fun in the comments. It's been great.
Ken, you said it perfectly in your piece, and in the short clip that everybody can watch is really the thesis statement of the comedy club as an environment does not extend to the entire world, and it especially doesn't extend to places where you have what campaign you're supporting on the podium, when it is in the context of that night, when things are being said. Like, everybody has a skill that they bring to the table, and everybody has their environment, and like the comedian brings the comedian skill, and they have the clubs to try things and fall flat or succeed super well. Like, you can do this thing, you can walk these tight ropes and have these things, but like there's also the a Jesselneck clip going around a lot, which I think is very, very spot on with Warhol's perspective on like getting away with it. And like your goal is not to anger and enrage and off put, even if the material is dark and difficult. You still want to be able to say, you want to leave them like, damn, can't believe he figured out that, something like, holy shit, that was intense, but I still had fun. A lot of great commentary happening on it, and a lot of shitty commentary happening on it. But ultimately, the point is like, my perspective was like, yeah, you are a roast comic, and yeah, you said horrible things across the board, because that was his defense. You guys are so sensitive. I make fun of everyone, and it's like, okay, but you left the roast stage, you left fucking Austin, whatever, to come here to this Nazi ass rally to then implement it there. So like, you have now taken out your shield, essentially. Your cultural like context is completely different. You're not trying something. You meant it with your whole chest, because everyone that came after you that's not a comic also meant it with their whole chest. And so you suck. And if this is what costs him the election, I'd be so happy. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for some of the data on some of these important demos. And of course, as a Puerto Rican, I said this online already. Fuck Tony Hinchcliffe. That was racist as fuck. And
I just want to. You're Puerto Rican, right? Right.
Correct. Yeah.
And you didn't like the joke, right?
I did not.
Okay, because some people have told me that, well, my wife's Puerto Rican and she wasn't offended, so why are you offended? That's what I've been told a lot.
I love that defense. And I saw some of those in your comments of like, well, I'm a Puerto Rican and I'm not offended. Okay. Well, I wish you had a higher standard for yourself. Like,
and look, you want to get really complicated. When the Washington football team changed their name and logo, the family of the Native American that posed for the logo originally was like, Grandpa thought it was of great. He took it as great pride, and it's like, got it. Like, not taking that away from you, your family, but we're not going to let this stand. Like, it's just like, it's not a get out of perjury.
I don't speak for all Puerto Ricans, nor would I ever attempt to, and nobody speaks for the entirety of their people,
right?
And that's so key. And so for people to be like, well, I wasn't offended. Okay. You weren't. So then we can unpack that if you want, random guy. We can unpack, maybe you haven't watched the news in a decade. Maybe you're not looking at the context. But there are those of us that have seen the demonization that started with Mexico and then spread out to every other Latin culture. Because most of these people in MAGA can't tell the difference anyway. But like, they just so happen to have now named one. And for extra comedy, they named the one that is part of the United States, which is equally fun. So it's like,
and I'm sure they're all aware of the history of the Spanish-American War in 1898.
100. But it's like, the whole like, I'm not offended. And look, I didn't sit there like devastated, because it's like, I've heard worse. But
part of that conversation point, the reason I brought it up too is like, like, who knows? You and members of your family might tell each other worse jokes.
Yes.
I got it. Like I do. Offense is taking offense is such a weird part of this argument. It is.
Yeah.
It is the who said it, where they said it, how they said
Yeah.
it, and how it was received is the debate.
Yes, 100%. Because I do. People know. People in this chat right now, Jared, Eli, Charlie, they know. I'm constantly like, if we're there, like, oh, let's hang out and like watch a movie or whatever on a stream, like, I'm always late to these things, and a lot of the times I'll be like, sorry guys, I'm on Puerto Rican time, or like, oh, you know, my sister took forever to do this thing as Puerto Rican women. Like, I say stuff like that all the time, but I can. Because I'm 100% Puerto Rican on both sides. You cannot hide behind it's a joke when you are also there endorsing.
It goes into a lot of spots, and that's, you know, that's why I wanted to go into. I did go into it on my show this week, the blathering. I don't lead me through it, but you know, can I just, as a comedian of 20 plus years, and before that, sketch comedian of at the Groundlings and stuff, I did get in trouble for something I put on stage that was done with great intent, but was mishandled and it wasn't received the correct way, and it cost me, right? Like, I'm all about putting comedy out there that maybe pushes boundaries, but there's such a conversation to be had about the misunderstanding of what Carlin was doing, what Lenny Bruce was doing, to Jeselnik's art point, and you're not there to offend. That's not comedy, and he's a roast comic, but comedians do. Yeah, I've had to watch my profession be debated all this, you know, last week or two, right? Yeah. And everyone's going to come at it, and it's kind of like how I talked to you about pro wrestling. Like, sometimes, like, if you're not in the locker room, you may just don't know how it works. And I don't want to come off cynical, but it's just been maddening this week, because it's beyond that. This isn't a joke. This wasn't a joke. Yeah. It ceased to become a joke the moment he took that gig, and he has a right to do it. A lot of people on my YouTube side came at that. Well, you know, this is the First Amendment. We have that right. There is no hate speech. There's only hate speech. And I'm like, if the debate here was that the government took Hinchcliffe's ability to take this gig and do this joke, I'd be fighting for him, right? Because that's actual censorship. He has a right to do it. The question is the morality, the character. Yeah. I could go out on my street corner right now and start yelling the N-word. That's my right. What kind of person takes that opportunity to do? Like, what are we defending here? Exactly. I'm not taking away his right.
Because it's like, if his defense is, oh, it's a joke, then okay, then that, by that same logic of setting tone, content, and delivery, Giuliani is a comic now. You know? Giuliani's a comic. Hogan's a comic. Trump's a comic. Like, so you're either going to bastardize the profession and make it so that there is no longer an earned factor to this title whatsoever. Well, or you're going to acknowledge that comics sometimes are no longer comics. There is a clock in, clock out element to it.
Well, don't worry, Alden. A lot of comics have bastardized the profession. And a lot of them because they watch things like Kill Tony and Rogan. And I don't want to bring that's a comedy Civil War thing going on right now. Sure. But
it's just like, look, I've heard worse. And I will hear worse again. I've said worse. You know, when I was in middle school and everything, and like, I was in middle school during like Tosh.0 and like Dane Cook being the biggest thing, and like we used to try to offend each other at the lunch table and say things that I would never repeat now. You know, and that were just like little 12-year-old boys like being stupid. But if you don't acknowledge, like, if you don't grow past 12-year-old boys being stupid, and then you take it to a context that is like so obviously a hate rally, so obviously filled with like blood libel and conspiracy and like gross like undermining of culture and white supremacists like Miller, basically quoting Hitler but subbing out Germany and subbing in America. If you're like, oh, but I'm doing my set there, then it's like, then there's just no way that's done in good faith. There's just no way.
No way. And you know what they wanted to do. And like, again, everyone's focusing on the Puerto Rico joke, but you've mentioned, you know, some of the other things. And I said in my video, and I want to say this carefully, but it's like, if someone had shown this to me and it was like cell phone footage at the Comedy Central roast of the United States and U.S. territories, I would have been like, yeah, Yeah, that's what happens at
Sounds
roast.
about
I'm not
right, I
saying
guess. Yeah.
I don't even think it's a smart joke. I think you could probably do that joke better. But yeah, what do you want from me? You know, I would have been like,
Yeah.
I got it. And then the big what about all that? Well, what about George Lopez? What about George Lopez? Speaking of a Kamala
Right.
rally, and it was like, do you not understand the theories of punching down? Why Hinchcliffe can't necessarily do that? Well, George is the intent is different. It's being received different. And
It's entirely different.
what Hinchcliffe and what Mark Maron said, Mark Maron, who's out there on an island sometimes fighting at that level, fighting against some of these others, where it's just it does not matter. I don't know if in his heart Hinchcliffe believes this. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. The matter is the result. The matter is you are being appropriated by this side of the culture war, and you were a part of this, and that's why I get so mad about the.
And you're a willing participant.
By the movie punditry world that I was in for so long. And it's not even, some of it was not done nefarious. Some of it was just done on, hey, we just talk about movies here. But when you do that and don't acknowledge the bigger picture, and people start coming into the conversation, and you're not going, ooh, wait, yeah, no. It gets political whether you want it to be or not. And the it's just jokes drives me insane. And the amount of people that have, even the last couple weeks, have heard my video and said, okay, I get it. But, jokes are jokes. Jokes are not fucking jokes. Jokes are not fucking jokes. They're words. They matter. Chris Rock, I'm not saying he deserved to, but hear me. He does not deserve to get punched by Will Smith on stage. But his joke had no good intent to it. His joke about Jada was buried in their own personal history. He didn't need to do it. He did it. It was right to, and turned into something. But I didn't defend that joke, right? And jokes are jokes. And by the way, so what you're saying, I don't even know if George Lopez should have done that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he should have done that. So what you're telling me is comics should be worried about what they say, right? You're outside of the lane. That was not a joke. That was a statement.
It's dishonest too about the mechanics, right? Like, I'm not a comic, but it's like I've watched a lot of the roasts that have been broadcast on TV, and people love to be like, well, he's a roast comic, he's a roast comic. It's like, yeah, but roasts still have format, decorum, and a social contract. That's why there's a dais. Like, it's an agreement. You're there, sitting there, and we have all backstage, green room. Like, all right, I'm really gonna go for you tonight. But like, it's always like people patting each other on the back and laughing on the couch, like waiting for their turn. And it's usually like main person, and then some smaller jabs at everyone else, and then we rotate around. Like, don't act like roasts are just this free for all, like trial by combat ass shit that I'm a roast comic. Like, what are you, the toughest and baddest of comics? Arguably, you're probably the cheapest and laziest of comics. Like,
100%.
So it's like, don't act like you're operating on some like crazy, like John Wick level of this world. Of like, oh, he's a roast comic, so you know what they're like. They're the comedy badasses. It's like, what are you talking about? Like,
they perform on a razor's edge. Yeah.
You guys, like, you literally have Jeff Ross there for 20 years going after like Justin Bieber or like whatever. Like, these are like, this is not that serious. And here you are now, like, we unleashed the roast.
Google Jeff Ross's past too.
Exactly.
No, roast. I've done roasts. I've done roast of friends. And I'm good at it. It's fun, and it can be a very fun night. Except there's a social contract. But since that time, because roast battles, every comedy club has a roast battle night. It's not something I'm interested in participating in. It has changed what people's expectations are for jokes, for comedy, how to approach it, how to do it, and it's not my style. But it doesn't mean people are good at it. People are good at it. Sarah Tiana, a great writer, one of the smartest comics out there. She's good at writing roast jokes. I think she writes for a lot of comics.
I mean, I think Nikki Glazer's roast set for Brady elevated her to a new level. Like, in terms of the national conversation about her, she went from a comedian that people knew, and she had specials already on streaming and things. But I've met Nikki Glazer. She was a total sweetheart when I met her. She was so cool, very kind, very tall, and like would actually like sit around and like ask you how you were doing during the commercial break and like things like that, which I always appreciated. And then she did this Brady set and just tore him up and tore everybody up. But everybody there on the couch had this reaction of like, damn, she got us. Like, that was good. And that's consent. that's based in we invited her here and we all agreed to this, and it's just in bad faith. And then the bad faith extends just to widen it out now to the fallout and everything. They immediately, hilariously, Trump said he didn't even know the guy, and they were like, this doesn't reflect his views, even though it was all on a prompter. And we now know from reporting from inside the campaign that he was going to call Kamala Harris the C word, and they nixed that. So you guys did review the material.
You did review the material.
And it was, and don't pull the bullshit. He goes online, jokes, whatever. AOC and Walls were playing Madden and Crazy Taxi when it happened, so they reacted in real time. All this fallout happens, and he does the normal bullshit of like, you guys are too sensitive. JD Vance does the you guys are too sensitive. Then the next day, or 2 days later, whatever it was, Joseph Robinette Biden, just like short time in it,
he's got getaway dayitis.
Yeah, he's just, man was on Zoom, not even looking straight down the barrel of the camera, just like, and
signing checks over to Bibi, and just yeah,
and he's like, you know what's garbage? Their supporters are garbage. And guess what? And by the way, I love Dana's Joe so much. It's just fantastic. And then immediately, of course, just like the immediate, just like visceral 180. How dare he? This is to say this about half the country. To say this. And it's like, look, there's a lot of like, you know, what should you call MAGA? What should you say? The reason why I say that it's gotten to like this Nazi level is because if you break bread with Nazis and you don't say anything about it and you platform them and you're like Eric Trump going to these boat rallies where the flag is flying and everything, even if you are not, I'm not saying you need to be hiling to be one, but you have said that it's okay. So you have earned that fucking title. And so now here we are, and all Joe did, and I can't believe I'm defending Joe Biden at this point, because it's just like, it's ridiculous that I even have to do this. But it's like all he said was their supporters are garbage. And it's like if World War II was happening with this media landscape, everyone would be like, guys, Hitler killed himself and he did a lot of bad, but we should not be glorifying suicide. It's like you guys are so unserious. And with days away, the entire media cycle stops to analyze whether or not it's okay to say that 18,000 people who cheered for blood libel and racism are garbage. And we're going to stop to like both sides of this. This is what created the Donald Trump phenomenon. Is this false equivalency between like they can say whatever they want. And it's like Donald Trump made controversial remarks that some did not like. And then you can't say anything. You can't say anything in response. It's bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit. It pissed me off so much. And then what you don't piss, I'm sorry, I'm stepping on you. But what pissed me off even more was Kamala coming off of the plane, them asking her about it, and her immediately being like, "Oh, you could see it in her eyes, like she just like locks into this like 2000s Bush mode where she was like, I strongly disagree with critiquing anyone for who they vote for. Oh, you disagree with critiquing anyone who they vote for, while at the same time this is the most important election of our lives, right? Because they're coming for democracy. Is that not a critique in and of itself?
But Alden, she has to, right? She has to say that. This is the nuttiness, and I'm saying this is the nuttiness, because if she doesn't, she might lose, because my parents will have another 4 years of going, but we're deplorables, right?
Where is Yes. This is what kills me. Like, where can I sign up to be a spin doctor or something? Because it's like, it's gotten to the point now where like I'm in my house. Yeah, exactly. The right has to be the right. The left has to apologize for itself. Always. I am at the point now where I'm in my house now yelling what she should have responded. Not that like I understand that I could do it for a living, whatever. I don't want to be a politician. But it's like, why wouldn't you come off that plane and say, yeah, President Biden had some harsh words, but after the tone set on Sunday night, I can understand why he would want to defend Puerto Ricans who are indeed American citizens, and to deny them that and to belittle them as lesser or make fun of them on the basis of their race is unacceptable. Thank you. No further questions.
Yeah, I don't. You're not wrong.
But instead, she's like, I gotta. She's like on the plane, like I gotta say something that way Cheney will text me back. It's like this. Like if we lose, if we lose this, it will be because of the complete, just like diluting of any fight whatsoever, because we wanted to bend over for a fictionalized Bush Republican out there who's been like they have like this mythology that there's like some good right winger right now who's just like waiting for the opportunity to swing back. I better see some data. I better see. I want to know who broke rank, because they picked him out 3 times.
I hope so. I hope so. But again, as I said before, someone who changed. I have a friend who works in political polling and stuff, and they know who down to what you shop, who you are politically. So maybe it will come out. My comment to you though, Alden, is like, but this has to be this is the nuttiness that we've all not you and I, but the world has created. That Biden's garbage comment might cost the election more than Hinchcliffe's garbage comment. That we have to debate, that this actually has to be.
It's already loony in and of itself. If you take one step back, the fact that these comments, either one, not that they're equal, but that they both exist, have had more effect on this election than an assassination attempt is hilarious. That is objectively.
That I'm maybe more faker by the day, right? And I don't say that lightly because I don't believe in conspiracies. But you know, we haven't talked about the Jon Stewart thing of it all too. But like I mentioned off air, like we talked about the Stewart thing. I think he missed it slightly, not as much as the headlines were saying. But Ronnie Chang the next night hit it perfectly, where he was like, "This Hinchcliffe's joke it's amazing that really horrible base level offensive joke is the problem, and not Trump's record on Puerto Rico. That would be the thing to cause Bad Bunny to go, finally I'm in." Like, you know, 100%,
yeah. Or Nicky Jam, another artist.
That's the one. Yeah.
On the MAGA stage with him, supporting, and now is like, no. So it's like, it wasn't hurricane response. It wasn't the disingenuous throwing paper at them. It wasn't any of that.
Wanting to trade them for Greenland.
But it's like, but that's the thing, man. That's where we are with everything. It's like, it's 2016. Well before debate 2, I think it was the audio came out where he admitted to being a fucking rapist. Like, he admitted this. And then, just in case you were unclear about the admission, it was decided in court. Like, this was adjudicated. Like, it's like, so there's like any category, whether it's with women, whether it's with Latin people, whether it's with Black people, whether it's in terms of business, whether it's in terms of real estate, whether it's in terms of foreign relations, whether it's in terms of just general decorum, whether it's as a husband, whether it's as a father, there is not a single category that you can find where he has not proven time and time again what he is. And look, that's not to say, again, caveats. It is not at all to say that the Dems are perfect, right? That they're handling Gaza right now. I mean, like, we are basically being forced to choose between the party facilitating the genocide and then the party that will facilitate it harder. And
I hung out with Darina last night. I know.
yeah. And I hate that, and it's awful and it's horrible. But I'm not gonna like moralize online and like about like moral absolutism of well, then do nothing or punish Dem. The punish Dems lefties are like my they're like these useless like little glup shitto like Moss Eisley fucking bickering over there. Like I just like they just do not even, they don't even rank for me in terms of seriousness right now.
I get you. I'm with you. I'm with you. You know,
we all know what Netanyahu wants. Netanyahu wants Trump to win this week.
Yeah,
that is just a fact of life. And and so it's like, it's not to say, you know, I'm not like rah Kamala Harris right now. I never have been. I've been rah win and stop the party that is spreading fucking blood libel. Like one of my cousins, her husband is Haitian, and their child, therefore, half Haitian. And it's like, she found out this week via her grandmother on that side about some of the stuff that had been said. You know, because she's a kid, she's like a child, and
right.
And was like, oh, like, you know, they had to tell her like, this bad man has been saying really unfair things about daddy's family and grandma and like all these things. And it's like, we're having to have those conversations, and that type of conversation is only being bred by one side right now. And it's just like, I'm at, like I said, mental health check in the promo for this episode. The answer for me, bad. Like, I'm so ready for this to be over, and there's so many unforced errors that have been coming out that just like it blows my, like sending Bill Clinton to just be a fucking racist in the middle of Michigan is just like,
gotta have
the
big
week
game Bill
before,
there.
they sent Bill out there to be like, he literally, this is not even exaggeration. He literally said, and and sometimes they force you to kill civilians. Motherfucker, the election is Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
Hey, Bill, go
Why?
back. Go back to your airport.
Who in strategy is like, this is the move? Bill will tip the scale. Like, it's like nobody can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory quite like these people. And it's driving me crazy.
But remember, I told you that that's what me and my Republican friends for years used to sit in break rooms and laugh about. And now that I play for the other team, it's true. And it's like but let's say because it's like, look, I still overall do feel, based on a lot of women becoming single issue voters on their existence, which is a great single issue to have, and their rights. I would agree.
And the fact that the early voting has already gotten us past a third of 2020's total. Like, there's lots of great signs that we could eke this out. Great. And we might be able to just like ever so slightly skate by and get this win. This will be the third 50-50 election in a row. 50-50. And we also just barely squeaked by the last time. We'll squeak by again. So help me God, if they don't immediately start working on 28, then they've learned nothing. Because
I agree with that.
It's just like you can no longer get by with like, but the other side is full of Nazis and Klansmen and all that. Yeah, we understand that. But look how bad they are cannot be your only point.
Right. Yeah. Look. I agree with that in a way. You're making me think of something I've even argued off air with family before. Like, Trump is Trump, right? Like, it's pretty easy to look at it and point and go, what of this? And whether or not they like it or not matter. But when the Hollies of the world, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and their space flares, like, it's easier to go, you stand by that? Oh, you kind of don't, but you're still voting. But it's the Hollies of the world, even Mike Johnson of the world, like, that are dangerous and not necessarily dumb, that I worry about in 2028. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. No,
We've covered a lot of spots. Yeah, look, and there's a lot of nervousness in the air. There's a lot of frustration, and we'll see what happens. And I don't know at this point. I don't know.
I'm going to be freaking out. I'm going to be doing my best I'm already continuing I take Twitter off my phone during the weekend. This is the third week of that, which has been great. I have to sit down at the Mac if I ever want to tweet anything.
I think that's good for you.
Causing me to be on their list, which is great. And it's well timed with this election. Yeah, man, it should not, and we all know this is not an original thought. It shouldn't be this close. Yes, of course. But it just blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Right, but it will, right? I've just been finishing my 5-hour watch of Mr. Beat, not Mr. Beast, Mr. Beat, Matt Beat's presidential election series. I highly recommend it. It is just history. It's not partisan in a way, of like, because that's intentional in his words. Just the history of the elections, and it's the numbers, and it's always frighteningly close. Outside of, like, maybe Obama, Reagan over Mondale was I think Mondale got Minnesota was the only state he carried electorally. It's great. So other than that, it's this frustrating tug of war. It's too close to call.
And there's some good Charlie with a great comment. The irony of the UK election being on July 4th in the US is on Guy Fawkes night isn't lost on me. That's true. And then the scary part is what comes next once disruptors to these parties do their damage and leave, like Trump. Do you revert back? I've talked about that a lot with people this week, just in small talk and just sitting around. I honestly think in very real terms that the Republican Party of both of our lifetimes is dead. I don't know what they do going forward. They're not what they were. I think that Kamala's Big Ten approach of like trying to resuscitate them, we'll see how that works out for them. But it's like, if we beat Donald Trump this week, I do think it's the last of him as a candidate. He'll talk shit until he dies, but like, they can't run him in 28. not with the way that his mind is going, not with his health, not with just like he's not going to run 28.
So imagine it's like how many trash truck doors he's going to miss by 2028.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So it's like, are they just going to choose like the MAGA heir, like one of his kids, Miller, Hawley, Cotton, Kushner? Like I could see any of that happening, but like anyone at this point that is twiddling their thumbs, like a Romney or God, what was this dude? I just completely blanked on his name. Whatever. Anyone that's like, who gives a fuck at this? Really, who cares? It's like anyone, you know what I'm talking about. That type. Anyone that's like a carryover from the previous regime, the previous mentality of like, we just we're concerned about how we spend money and we love Jesus. Like any of those people, you guys got to figure out what fucking party you are. You guys got to start a new one.
No, I love to see. Yeah, the thing that's driving me insane this week in particular is, I've seen a lot of Christians that I used to know and stuff do the whole like whatever happens Tuesday, we trust in God and everything. And I want to make clear, like, well, for what it's worth, I still believe in something, right? But like, it's such a cowardly put your head in the sand, not choose a side. You're choosing to stand with this antithesis of everything you've been, spouting out to the world, and you still do it. And now at the end, you're just gonna be like, it doesn't matter who our hands are we're in God's hands. Like on Tuesday, let's pray for peace. It's like, you cowards. I know you in a weird way
there, but it almost sounded like you were about to do Palpatine. The only now. At the end
do you understand? Do you understand? But like I almost respect the mega pastors who are up there saying COVID-19. Like they've chosen. They've chosen a side.
Yeah.
I respect that more than just hold your nose and put your head in the sand, and this monster in our own party will go away. Like that's been driving me crazy this week. And those folks have to deal. It is, and I'm not the first to say this, but it's the plane going down, and you all say your final words, and then the pilots are like, "It's okay," and the plane comes in for landing, and you're all staring at each other. Cool. What do we do now?
Who did I?
What do you do now?
Did I call my wife or did I call my mistress?
Yeah.
Like, what actually? Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like, cool. He's gone. What's left? What are you going to do with that? And it's for them to answer, but it's for us to deal with, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, I'm liking the Chief Palpatine as a Christian lore that's coming up here. You, like your father, are now in God's hands.
Do it. Henceforth, you shall be called. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Anyways, and I feel you for
yeah. Trump's outward manifestation of the cancer has been growing. Yeah, I mean, it's the long game.
Look, it's a long game. It goes back to the party switch. It goes back to Goldwater. It goes back to everything from that point on. You can trace it in its real history. And the thing is, I always say this, like every presidential administration, you could probably find something that I would deem a policy win, right? Like even Trump, like that pops up every now and again. And hear my words, Alden. You know what I mean? Like Reagan for 8 years, there's probably some things I could be like, yeah, okay, yeah, I agree with that. But it's the history that you trace it. And I keep joking with friends, but it all slides to January 6th. The discussion of pop culture, the acceptance of roast comics, Reagan and his policies, Goldwater, the appropriation of the religious section into their party to make it a permanent morality issue. So if you vote against Republicans, you're voting against God. All that stuff slides directly to January 6th. And God help us from our trust in God's hands about what happens a week from now when it doesn't go their way. You know what I mean? Like it's all connected. So to Ken's point, I agree with that fully.
Jared brings up, we got a secret plan, folks. A secret plan.
Check out
that bullshit. Look,
Jared, hold on, Jared. That is an offensive joke. You are offending the masturbators of the world.
You're just as bad.
You're just as bad.
The secret plan. The obvious thing, is to try to send it to the House. I think that's what everybody assumed. Elie Mystal, who's somebody that I follow and I think is a great political commentator. He's the justice correspondent for The Nation. He wrote a great piece about it.
I'll check that out.
Where he posed an even scarier, but very, very well thought out and very realistic, complete with dates and everything about like how it would go down, that the secret plan might be to instead just decrease the number of electoral votes, because the actual language, and this would cause a constitutional language thing, and there would be challenges, and it would have to be based on this interpretation, that what it actually says, you know, in terms of defining this electoral process before sending it to the House, is that you have to have the majority of the available electorate, the available electoral votes. And so if Johnson just decides to be a dick and is like, well, we're going to challenge this and challenge this, and then be hard on every deadline and everything, they're just going to try to bring the number down. So you no longer need that 270. You need a lesser number, or a lesser number, or a lesser number, which in theory is possible. Again, at what point do we just, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
And that's the thing is with Johnson, is what I say this, he's one of my least favorite characters in this horrible play we're watching.
Yep.
But he's not dumb, right? Like Josh Hawley's not dumb. That's the danger. No. That makes him more dangerous. And Johnson was in 2020, as we all know, cool, we can charge the Capitol, or we can do it this way. Through the legal system, and I've got a plan. That's what makes them dangerous. So yeah, something to worried about. I don't know. I don't know, Alden. I got coffee now. Tuesday it's going to be whiskey.
Oh, I'm going to be absolutely blitzed on Tuesday. And you know what? And if she wins, maybe you'll see us. Maybe you'll see us at some point. Maybe we'll
yeah. You know, no. Some people asked, or even on my blathering show, some people are saying, you know, hey, are you going to do a live stream? Like. Look, you'll know early in the day. You know, my memories, I've said this before, my memories of 2016 or coming off the movie talk set, and we had a big screen in the Collider general common area, and the news was on, and John Schnepp was watching, and rest in peace, Schnepp. And Schnepp was saying, he was just like, it's not good. It's not good. And here I am in a dumber phase of my life, just going, it's 11:05 a.m. And he's like, I just got a sense, right? So I'm worried we'll get that sense. Which also, by the way, this week, as I received a lot of problems on my Instagram Reel video, a lot of people saying, man, I used to love you and Collider, and big fan of John Schnepp. John Schnepp would hate you. John Schnepp was the most politically active of the Collider folks during that golden era. He was the one who was the most concerned, and he would hate your indifference to Hinchcliffe and Trump.
Yeah, I didn't have the pleasure of knowing the man, but I watched him on Heroes, and I've kept up with his work for years since I was a teenager. And he was always extremely clear, and he would also hate the way that this has infected the things that he loves. You know, if Schnepp was with us during things like Acolyte, Fallout, and everything, he would have been on the front lines telling you guys, you have no fucking place in this. So. That's just very. That's at a like, are you literate about the people that you watch and consume issue? You know, and it's like, for people that claim to have been, I'm a knapsack guy going back. They clearly haven't paid attention to the arc. That's the other takeaway from that. Is like, they clearly don't listen to Force Center like they say they do.
Yeah,
they
if you stopped watching me, and even as I'll say, as late as 2017. And I don't care if you did or not, right? That's what happens. You're going to move off. People are going to get older. You're going to forget. I'm going to fall out of your algorithm or life. If you didn't watch me, and now suddenly you see this video I'm doing about Tony Hinchcliffe, and you're like, I used to be a fan. Like, you weren't. I don't mean that even challenging. Like, you stopped. I changed. I grew. I didn't usually talk about this stuff. I still don't love. I'd still rather go on the blathering and talk about my favorite instant mac and cheese. Who wouldn't want to do that? But. Yeah, it's frustrating because it's a mirror. You're reflecting back up to yourself. You haven't grown. You haven't changed. I don't care about you. I care about your beliefs, but you know what I mean? Like, you've shown no growth. You just want to talk about Spider-Man. Like, that's on you, not on me.
Yeah. Spider-Man, who, by the way, canonically Jewish and would not support any of the shit that you guys are doing right now. He wouldn't support any of this fucking blood libel happening at MSG in his city. All right, Spider-Man would have swung in there. All right. So
I got a little time. Anytime ends with me going, oh, I gotta go. I gotta do something today, Alden. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Alan Moore stuff because it's interesting to me.
Yeah, and that actually got sent to me by Andy, who works with us on Casually Talk, and I will have Casually Talk update at the end. We're going to be on Sunday.
Okay. Oh, great!
Andy and I will be doing something on Sunday. So that'll be back. We'll give you more details in a minute. But Andy sent this to me and was like, "This is anytime material," and it's like Alan Moore. Just a little bit of groundwork. Like, of course, for those of you that don't know, legend of the comics industry, a legendary writer, the man who gave us Watchmen, V for Vendetta, an incredible Swamp Thing run, amongst many other things, and has always had a difficult relationship, to say the least, with IP and ownership, and has had some takes I agree with, some takes I don't. And 10 years ago, he went hard against the idea of fandom. And 10 years ago, I was 18, and I interpreted that very much as, why is he shitting on us? And I don't get it. He's just being a bitter old man, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But
he has
then
that beard,
Yeah. And there's always been like, he's a wizard, and him and Grant Morrison, who's another writer, like Grant doesn't like Alan. And there's all this fun comic lore that's come around with these legends and everything. And Charlie notes here about local stuff. Charlie's bumped into this man, and Alan lives close to Charlie. Charlie, you can give the details about how far away he is. He's like 15 minutes away, an hour away, whatever. But he has given to charities there and has helped out and has always been very kind and by all accounts, good dude. And he released this updated piece now, 10 years later, serving as clarification and further thoughts. And 10 years obviously is a lot. And the entire Trumpian era has encompassed the decade since he first had these thoughts, and the alt-right and fandom and all that. And he came down on this point that I thought was so essential, which is like, yes, it is this beautiful thing. It's how these things survive. It's wonderful to be a fan. However, there's this sick, corrosive entitlement that is fucking with everything, because people think that it's about them and ego. And I thought he made a lot of great points. And I wish that people at the top of their game that are hot now would be saying those things, because people, I fear, will write Alan off as, well, he's from a different generation. So
yeah, and he's been people have opinions on him, as he said. 10 years on, let me make my position clear. I believe that fandom is a wonderful and vital organ of contemporary culture, without which that culture ultimately stagnates, atrophies, and dies. At the same time, I'm sure that fandom is sometimes a grotesque blight that poisons the society surrounding it with its mean-spirited obsessions and ridiculous, unearned sense of entitlement. Perhaps this statement still requires some breaking down. That's a sentence, man.
Oh, no, it's incredible. I mean, he's able to dig into things in a way that is so consistent with his writing, because he was in him and Frank Miller are credited, and obviously there were many people, but him and Frank are credited with the deconstruction, right, of our icons, of like, how would it really be? Was sort of like the very basic premise of Watchmen. What would actually happen? And Frank with Dark Knight Returns doing that with Batman and everything. And I think he's right. I mean, we've seen this. Like, I have been personally less active with Star Wars over the past 6 to 8 months, which that takes it from like a all in to like still a crazy amount. Like, I still think about it every day. I still freaked out with the Skeleton Crew trailer today. It's just Octa Radio has been on hold, and I haven't felt motivated to rush that, although things are happening. And then
things are happening.
Things I got some interesting emails about some potential guests. I'll tell you off air. It is Chief Palpatine that I will be interviewing. I'll be asking him about Joe Biden's garbage comment, and that's largely because of, like, I loved Acolyte. I thought it was a great season, and then the cancellation pissed me off. Because it was driven by shitty business and a collapsing model and all these things. But what pissed me off in an equal but separate way was the reaction from good faith people, was the reaction of people that I like. And it was a lot of it came from entitlement. You can't convince me that it wasn't. A lot of it came from, well, that's the one I like, and so therefore this is an affront on me. And there was a lot of revisionist history that happens, and a lot of bullshit bad faith arguments. That I think is what Moore is talking about. Like, the people that will love and show up for Star Wars, and we're just using that as an example because it's our preferred nerd world. The people that show up for it the most and claim to love it the most are also the first ones to sit there and talk shit sometimes. even separate from like the Phantom Menace and like all that stuff. They're the first ones that like they built up Dave Filoni from George's young sidekick on the DVD bonus features to being the creative lead. And then the second he got what they said they wanted him to have, it was fuck that guy. And that's happened with Moore too. Like Moore has given and he's given and he's given and he's given, and I understand like why he feels this way, and I think he's right. It's happened across everything. It's happened across everything in the nerd world.
Some of the stuff it's fascinating to read. Check it out. The Guardian is where I had it, and I only have 9 free Guardian articles left this year. So I got to be careful.
So we really got to be picking and choosing for until 2025.
Yep. If I may, I clip this out, Alden. There are, of course, entirely benign fandoms, networks of cooperative individuals who quite like the same thing, can chat with others sharing the same pastime, and importantly, provide support for one another in difficult times. These healthy subcultures, however, are less likely to impact on society in the same way that the more strident and presumptuous fandoms have managed. Unnervingly rapid, our cultures become a fan-based landscape for the rest of us merely living. That the rest of us are merely living in. Our entertainments may be canceled prematurely through an adverse fan reaction, and we may endure largely misogynist crusades such as Gamergate or Comicsgate from those who think gate means conspiracy, and that Nixon's disgrace was predicated on a plot involving water. But this is hardly the full extent to which fan attitudes have toxified the world surrounding us, most obviously in our politics. And he goes on to that. This is why I do say all things do kind of slide to January 6th. It's not hyperbole. It is a general look at the situation. But how you look, Gamergate is still going on. It's still going. It never stopped. It just moved. The ball moved, and the court moved, and the goalpost moved. Everything moved. And this is why you have to,
moved and grew,
analyze this stuff on a closer level. It doesn't mean doesn't mean every conversation you have about Star Wars is about politics. Sometimes it's about zoom and pew pew pew. It is, but you have to be aware, and you can't let that door open. You cannot let that door open and let all these people slide on in, and take it over like this and not be aware of it. And I really like what you're saying there.
Cackling at him taking the time during this very serious point to shit on people not understanding what Watergate is. It's so funny. That's so Alan Moore to be like, and there are people that think gaming is conspiracy, which is just fantastic.
Matty Gunner says I can use his Guardian account. We're okay.
Matty, just give us all your passwords to everything. You seem like a successful guy. I think he's right. I mean, like we've talked about this 100 times. We've talked about this 1,000 times, and all of our friends talk about it. It's like, this is the natural endpoint, because we used to radicalize men with Rush Limbaugh, and it's like, and now he's in hell. So it's like, we had to move over to do something else. And the groundwork got laid 10 years ago, and people who were always like fairly normal, many of whom you worked with, you yourself, one of them, like, you guys were in this space, but like, how could you have known? I've even asked you that. I'm like, if you could go back, like, during Acolyte, I remember talking to you about it, and you were like, none of us knew. None of us even felt it.
No, you didn't feel it. You're in the water boiling, but also I can't stress enough how much it was just fun. Like, oh my God, like finally I get paid to go to a studio and talk about movies and stupid stuff and make dumb jokes. And there was, and then suddenly you look around, the world changed, and either you recognized it and you recognized your part in it, and you try to either do something about it, or at the very least acknowledge what was going on. But you also still had a job to do. Like every day, 2018, 2019, Jedi Council, like, my job was just to talk about Star Wars. My job wasn't necessarily going to fight and preach this culture war, but I had to be aware that it was happening around me, and that things that I was doing on the show could contribute to that. And it's only gotten worse. It's only gotten worse. But it's always, but it's not new. That's the thing. When you study history, man, it's just the same playbook, man. And we all know this. And you and I are speaking to a positive audience here on Anytime. If this was a bigger audience, we'd love to have it. Sure, great, but we'd have a bunch of yahoos in chat here we'd have to fight with, because it's a playbook. It's the same words. It's the same thing. It's the Irish immigrants. It's the Russian immigrants that my grandparents were. It's the Chinese immigrants. Like it's the same fear playbook played over and over. And culture is where that's the battle line. Today we're arguing about a roast comic who is a successful comic, whether or not he's a good comic or not, you decide, but he's a successful comic, goes on to a big platform, says this joke, and we have a lot of people going, it's just jokes, which were the exact words when they try to take away the minstrel shows and blackface and said, maybe we should do this. Oh, it's just jokes. What are you talking about? It's just jokes. It's the same thing over and over and over.
Part of it, like whether it's Tony Hinchcliffe or whether it's, you know, any of the fucking worst YouTubers that we're all familiar with, that couldn't actually analyze any of this stuff if their life depended on it. Like you get this motherfucker that couldn't tell you what Star Wars is about with a gun to his head. Like they couldn't review their way out of a brown paper bag. But all of these people have something in common that connects these conversations together, which is, and I'm glad you brought up things like, you know, like the minstrel shows and like and the very racist history that entertainment industries have in this country. People don't realize that being the court jester for these motherfuckers is helping them. Like, I think they think that like only active like policymakers or candidates or people in the team are like responsible and have blood on their hands. But it's like, no. You who stood there for the king and sang songs about how great he was, like you count too. Like you are part of it too. And I don't think that they realize that. Like there are like I couldn't give you a figure and I couldn't give you a legal analysis, but like there is absolutely blood on Rogan's hands for some of the science shit that he has said. Can't tell you how much, but there is. It's like you have to acknowledge that like you can't just pick and choose when your platform has an effect. You know, it's not like some of us are trying to be, you know, good night and good luck and like really battle, and some of us are just trying to be silly willies. It's like
I'm Edward R. Murrow, damn it.
Yeah, there's not like two different like categorizations for this. Like I worked on AM radio, and when I started my career, and I would sit there sometimes in the booth and be like, fuck, like he doesn't even realize, because he's an older white guy, that what he just said was like really disrespectful and really dismissive. But he's like, well, this is a funny, silly, whatever thing. And it's like they don't. It's not pick and choose, and I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take.
I think one of the, and this is maybe ending the thought on this, and we can start wrapping up and promo where we're going. But it's what Marin was saying was you might not think you're a part of it, but you are a part of it. And maybe they're even using you at worse, and you got to take responsibility for that. You don't normalize it. Plume says in chat, if you normalize, you legitimize. Yeah, you know, remember Fallon ruffling Trump's head. It's like, that's innocuous in a lot of ways. 20 years ago, maybe wouldn't have batted an eye, you know? It's everyone's looking for the Arsenio saxophone moment with Big Game Bill. So you're looking for that kind of stuff. We are in different times, meaning everything's the same, but it's more ramped up, and now we're seeing the results of just years of this. And one of the most dangerous statements in the world is it's just jokes. It's such an excuse for so much troubling things that follow that. That even though your intention might be a joke.
Yeah. People also, and I don't mean to send us on a whole other tangent, but so last thought, people don't analyze premise, right? Which, you know, not everybody needs to be an art critic. Not everybody goes to comedy to be like, let me look at this guy's material. Like, people don't do that, you know? Yeah. But maybe like a couple audience members in every crowd will really be thinking about the art. And that's a shame. And, you know, maybe there are different cities, different environments where people think differently. But it's like, I go to comedy sometimes and like I watch a stand-up and I'm like, I get excited about how creative the premise is. I get excited about like, that's such an interesting angle. Like, I love that stuff.
Or just the raw truth. My most successful bit is wanting a louder fan in a bathroom. That's not, I could point to some layers, but I'm not addressing those layers. I'm just trying to entertain. So it's not that there isn't value in jokes and entertaining. Don't mistake me. But
in that, it's like you can, to your point about it's not just jokes. It's like you could look at a Ken Knapsack set, and like if you really thought about it, you could figure out what you're about. Like you could figure it out, and like you could see someone's character, or at least their interests, or at least how they see things, for like observational. So it's like it's like acting like to say it's just jokes implies that every comedian crafts an entire character to bring on the road that has no basis in who they are. Like every comedian is an actor, and it's like that's just not true.
Yeah.
We know that's not true because we've seen Rob Schneider try to be an actor, and so it's like we know that is not the case.
Look, man,
we've seen Fallon try to be an actor.
I'll clip out the sketch. If my friend Casey is still watching, he might remember. I did a sketch just titled Rob Schneider at the Groundlings, where it was a bunch of, it was like a smarter friend and you know, whatever, but it was like he had gone back to his old high school buddies and they were all talking about that movie where Rob Schneider was a dolphin, Zookeeper, Gamekeeper. There's some movie, just the benign stupidity of all of it, I guess. But it's not. Anyways, sidetrack.
Anyway,
I'll send you that sketch.
We're gonna get going. There's a few more things. Oh, shout out to everybody. Of course, this is in my notes. Fandom and GameSpot, including
a lot of folks lost work.
Yeah, a lot of folks laid off this week,
and a lot of us, you know, probably still will. It's not the day of the big entertainment digital media companies is over, my friends. It's over.
No, that's true. It's true. I'm too young. Sometimes I say like, oh, I was too young to like get like, you know, the boom in like the 90s and like, and I'm too young to have even fucking been a panelist during the heyday of free money and Verizon sponsorships, and like I'm that young.
You don't even know. The most money I made on paper from a job was Verizon just going, you guys do a show.
Whatever you want.
Do a show.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, 5 people a week watch the show. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in the show. 5 people watch the show.
If anyone wants to be the
it was a golden age. It was a golden age.
So Sunday, Casually Talk returns.
Good.
We had hurricane scares and some other shit that has kept it delayed, and I apologize for the delays. Everybody that is a crossover viewer over there, but Andy and I are going to be coming back with our first House of the Dragon book spoilers, season 3 breakdown talk, and then we're going to roll into the next series that we're going to be doing over there called Cornerstone Characters, where I'm going to be interviewing people about their favorite fantasy characters. I'm toying with the idea of even letting them surprise me of what character they're going to pick, but then it's like, how do I make the thumbnail? So
yeah, you got to make it.
We'll see what happens with that. But that's going to be coming up. I know,
and I'll be on stuff too. I don't want to. I'm not done with Casually Talk. I want to do a Rings of Power recap with you, and I'm looking at some things to do that are on there as well. Because we've grown the channel enough to where it's going to be nice to put some energy into it, and I give all the credit to you for doing that, and Andy and Nikki and all the folks. So we're having some fun.
So that's going to be coming up, and then this coming Thursday, there will be an additional, I don't think it's replacing next week's show because we're going to do a post-election, no doubt. But next Thursday on this channel, you will see a simulcast coming from our friends over at the Bombad Cast. Through the magic of stream, it can hit both channels at once. So you'll be like, this is a different graphics package. This is a different thumbnail. I don't understand. This is a crossover episode that's going to be happening with our friends at the Bombad Cast, called Candid Conversations. And so essentially what Scotty and Jerry, who we both adore, have decided to do is rip off Hot Ones in a Bombad 90s Jar Jar ass way with some ridiculous plan where they, the two who normally host this show, are going to make themselves the guests while Ken and I ask them what they have requested, deep philosophical, really intense questions while they sit there drinking milk and burning their tongues off.
Okay. So can I get some hot wings in my? I'll get myself some wings.
They didn't say if we also could have the wings, but like I feel like there's no rule against it.
I'll have some. Maybe have some pizza bites. I don't know.
Yeah, so we're going to be over there being interviewers. That's going to be Thursday in place of blathering. You can give details on that.
Yeah, my blathering will be on Wednesday on the last second Civil War started. Then I might have to square up. But Wednesday night blathering, just like this week, and then this on Thursday night. I want some fun.
Welcome to the first edition of Blathering from the Bunker. The end times have come. Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. A crossover with the boys. It's going to be a lot of fun. we're gonna ask them some fun questions, and because evidently what you all have proven, you the internet have proven, is that you need a gimmick to pay attention to an interview. So you know what?
Yes.
We'll give you the gimmick. All right.
Yeah. Yep. Let's do the gimmick. The bunkering. It says Dave McKay.
The bunkering.
The bunkering. All that's coming your way. A lot of fun. Thanks for the conversation today, buddy. I love just going. We're like ice skaters who can't skate. We just all over the ice, and I love it. I love it. Thanks for watching. Be nice. Go vote if you haven't already.
Yes, vote.
And if you're at 10 Downing Street, look over your shoulder. All right, see you soon. Bye.